Hello, everybody. It's Michelle Grace Lesserard from marketingforhealers.com and also michellegrace.com. I know there's a lot of you listening today, and I thank you, whether you're listening live or you're listening later. Thank you for joining me and listening to what I have to share. So this poem popped up on my desk this morning, and I really wanted to share it. I'm going to be talking about what does Venus mean for you. What does the Venus retrograde mean for you? I'm an astrologer. I've been teaching astrology, shamanic astrology for the last 25 years. And you may know me through my new moon teleclass, but today we're going to be talking about the Venus retrograde that's happening this Friday, starting October 5th, and what that means for you. I'm also going to cover my perspective on what last week was about at the hearings. So the poem I wanted to share with you today is from Seeds of the Spirit by Barbara Brennan. And so here we go. Open the door into this perhaps seemingly dark interior, filled with pain and fear, to mourn all those points in your history where, because of your self-limiting attitude, you had not learned how to have communion with another being that you so longed for. Fill your pain with loving kindness and compassion. Simply sit in compassion. When that opens the door to mourning, allow the morning to wash through you, for what follows is sweet rain. So, what does Venus mean for you, and why are we at this point now, at this moment in time? So I wrote this on Facebook on another post, and I wanted to share this perspective. To me, the collective feminine has experienced a huge expansion of truth on Thursday's hearings. Remembering in therapy after a huge emotional release, there's a feeling of newness and not yet grounded in this reality. And I think that Venus going retrograde is going to give us a sense of breathing space to take in and mourn the losses that we've collectively been feeling, but yet also come back to center, inspired and rising in a new form. This is akin to being reborn. What we experienced last week was akin to being reborn. And what if Thursday we witnessed a collective soul retrieval around the feminine psyche? Whether you're male or female, we all answer to this feminine psyche within us. And we are still in the afterburn and coming back to center. We are still in the afterburn of that experience and coming back to center. So every planetary energy in your birth chart can be used as a guide for living life. Mars, remember I was with you earlier this summer talking about the Mars retrograde. Mars shows you in what way you're ready to act. And I think it's really interesting that Mars went retrograde before Venus. As I said this summer, Venus gives Mars its marching orders. If Mars is out of whack, if Mars is not healed, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of rage, there's a lot of energy around rage that doesn't serve. In other words, rage is good, but righteous anger, meaning you know who you are, you know what you're about, and you use that place of centeredness to focus on what needs to happen, then you know what's going to happen for you, and you take that truth, your wisdom, out in the world and lead from that center point. It's not driven by your third chakra, it's driven by your heart center, which is Venus, and it rules the heart chakra. So, like I said, Mars shows you where you're ready to act, and the moon shows you how you're ready to express those emotions. The sun shows you how you're called to shine in the world, and Mercury is the way you're called to communicate those energies. In other words, speaking from your throat, understanding the power of your voice. And we certainly saw it last week when we witnessed Dr. Blasey Ford speaking with, even though her voice trembled, she spoke clearly and intelligently around what happened to her. Whether you believe her or not, you knew that she was telling you something important. So Venus shows you your relationship to love and what you value. And the principle of Venus is about creating beauty in the world around your heart's desire. If you don't understand who you are and what your heart of heart wants to create, you get messed up and you start living other people's lives, other people's agenda. In essence, you're living from the third chakra rather than your heart chakra space. And so it feels off. You know it's off in some way. So Venus shows you what you value. Venus shows you what you value. And Venus is the morning star, and her light represents the goddess within all of us. She's the in terms of archetypes, she's the higher octave of Earth. So we're here, and Venus shows us how the love principle can guide us through life if you show up and if you decide to play. So let's talk about why this moment in time and why we're here. Saturn is a contracting energy. It asks you to dive deep into your ancestral story, the karma, and clear up your history. Face your fears. Face the resistance you have. In the body, Saturn's realm is the first chakra, rooted and grounded. When somebody is traumatized, when somebody experiences any form of abuse, that first chakra is locked into that drama in some way. And many times, if it was during childhood, somebody who is energetically able to read your chakras will actually see it as a very small cone. It's not adult. It's still childlike because the drama is still trapped in that chakra. So Saturn is a contracting energy, and Saturn asks you to give up your ancestral story. Saturn asks you to dive deep into your ancestral story and clear up the history. It asks you to face your fears. And it does so at certain times of your life. Like there's certain markers when you're living life that it will start to fire up. I'm not going to get into it now, but I wanted to speak about that. That Saturn is a contracting energy. It's the old form trying to keep control of what they want to do. And so Jupiter and Saturn work together. They work together in the body and they work together in the collective. And Jupiter is an expansion energy. It asks you to make a choice, to take a risk, to create in a new way. Saturn's realm is the second chakra. It's playful, it's sensual, it's sexual, it's joyful. If it's not inhibited, it takes you on a journey with Saturn because Saturn's the container. Saturn's how you manifest, and Jupiter is how you create. So why are we here, and why are we in this particular moment looking at the abuse around women's abuse, and why is it popping up right now? And why is Venus going retrograde right now? So in 1981, there was a great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter had a meetup. They came together in Libra and set a 20-year cycle that inspired the adult child of alcoholics healing movement. The adult child of alcoholics healing movement. And during the next 20, it also set off a business cycle. Saturn and Jupiter, when they come together, set up a business cycle. And it was about Libra, and it's about balance and what has heart and meaning for me today. So Saturn and Jupiter came together in 1981, and we started to hear the truths of people, especially women, around their own abuse issues, about how the addiction patterns were playing out in the family. And a lot of us, me included, said, I need to heal this. I'm not willing to pass this along any longer to my children or my grandchildren. I will be the one to raise my hand and say, enough is enough. I'm going to heal these patterns of abuse. And so we started to see the truth coming forward. And it didn't make a lot of people happy because those who are still stuck in the first chakra and the ancestral karma do not want to hear the truth. They want to live their lives in the status quo of things and saying everything's fine with me, even though they may be eating, drinking, smoking, drugging, whatever they're doing to diminish that energy. So here we are in 2018, and isn't it interesting that those who are coming of age are coming forward with their stories, and it's playing out on the collective field in such a big way. This isn't a coincidence. This is a synchronicity that something within us is asking for healing. And each of us have a part in that, including Brett Kavanaugh, including Dr. Blasey Ford. This is a very important moment in time. And so that 20-year cycle is still playing out, because personal health, women healing from trauma, abuse, children naming the addictive patterns they grow up with, understanding that addicts lie and addicts manipulate and the unconscious destroys. And we're seeing that play out on the planet right now in the collective and our, all across the board. It's like amped up. And so in May of 2000, Saturn and Jupiter came together again and set into motion another 20-year cycle. Okay, so we had Libra for 20 years, and now we are in the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction of Taurus. May of 2000, it said, do you have heart and meaning? Or do you value what you have in front of you? And so the next 20 years would be around, Taurus is about value, self-esteem, and self-worth. How is our relationship to money? How is our relationship to the environment? How do we value women and children? How do we value things how do we value ourselves? And how does that translate to the greater story that's walking around in the world today? So we are still in that valuing cycle. The next Saturn-Jupiter conjunction will be in Aquarius in 2020. And so we're at the tail end of that. And so, yes, the trauma, drama, the gunk, the shadow stuff that needs to come out to heal is coming out to heal. That doesn't mean that we haven't succeeded. What that means is that there's an energy on the planet that's never been here before, and it's ready to, we are all collectively ready to move it forward. It doesn't mean we succeeded. It doesn't mean we failed. It means that things have come to light for healing. Now, when these two planetary cycles are banging up against each other, Saturn, Jupiter in Taurus, and Saturn, Jupiter in Libra, it's not that your truth is not real. It's that the collective has not caught up with the energy of the moment. It's that the collective has not caught up with the energy of the moment. And that doesn't mean that to go into deep mourning. What that means is to acknowledge the grief that you're holding for yourself, and you may be holding for others, and to allow that space to create with you. Space to create with you. That story is profound and it wants to be shared. It's a teachable moment. It wants to go out into the world and create new things. It doesn't want you to rest. And the trauma drama of it, it wants you to be inspired by it and understand that you are not alone. And that there are things that are being asked of you to take that story to the next place. And so it's that the old paradigm of abuse and denial can no longer stand in the light, and it's being dismantled. Now, you may want it to be dismantled really fast. It's going to take whatever it takes. But are you willing to plant seeds of possibility to not get caught up in the trauma drama? It behoove you this week to ask, what do I want to create from this space? What do I need to cry? What do I need to mourn about? How can those tears, that sweet rain, help me birth that place within me that is an inspiration for people to take their own journey? So am I willing to take the awareness to the ultimate possibility, personally and collectively? And that's what this moment's about. And am I willing to tell my story, whether it's believed or not? Because I know what I know, and I forgive myself for not believing me. Ultimately, your truth is your truth. And ultimately, you have to believe yourself and not look outside of yourself for validation, because you know what happened. Your body knows what happened. Your spirit knows what happened, and you know what you know. And so you quit searching for validity outside of yourself. You value you. Remember, I said Taurus, this Saturn Jupiter Taurus conjunction is about you valuing you, your truth, your knowing. You know what you know. I remember back in my memories came back in the early 1991. And there wasn't a lot written about this. I'm really grateful that I got to be with the teachers that I got to be with and the healers that I got to be with. But I remember the moment I was breathing in and doing a rebirthing session, and my mentor said to me, she wanted me to say this, I forgive me for not knowing what I know. And it was like this whole energetic shift happened in my body, because we question it, and we question it. Did I see? Do I know what I know? And that reverberation goes on in the body until it releases. It's trauma. It has to shake off. And so when it starts to shake off, it's like earthquakes around you, within family, within the collective. What we witnessed last week was the greatest possibility we ever could witness, because it was women coming together and saying, enough is enough. I know what I know. And this happened to me. And you will look at me and you will listen to me. And even if you don't listen to me, I know what I know. I'm willing to tell my story, whether it's believed or not. And nothing is healed at the level it's created. Nothing is healed at the level it's created. Do you see me? Do you hear me? And it's asking, what do we value as a society? That's the truth of what this moment's about. What are we valuing about here and now? Truth is light. Truth is love. Truth stands on its own. Truth shines a light into the dark places we may not want to deal with. And remember, addicts lie. Power corrupts. So back to the Venus retrograde. Venus is retrograding October 5th through November 16th, from 10 degrees of Scorpio to 25 degrees of Libra. Why is that important? Well, Scorpio is about transformation. It's about going into the dark and shining a light and saying, this is here. We need to look at this. We need to understand what happened. How did it affect us? What's going on? In your birth chart, Venus rules both Taurus, I value, and Libra, I balance. Like I said, Venus rules love. It rules the connection to money. It rules creativity, relationships, value. What do I value and how do I value myself? It rules aesthetics, beauty in life, your personal style, and how you express your inherent purpose, what makes life worth living for you. Look, if you're operating from third chakra down and it's power over others, control, drama, trauma, that is not living from the heart. And here's the thing, there's so many of us now living from the heart. The other third chakra people don't really have a space or place to go with this. They're kind of cycling through. And while it's frustrating to watch, stay on point. Stay on point. You know what you know. So Venus connects you to self-esteem and self-worth issues that are out of whack. And she can show you where you're feeling less than, AKA not good enough. She's going to show you where you're feeling less than, so during the retrograde, so you can course correct. And Venus shows you where you can stand in relationship, where you stand for yourself in relationship, where you got lost in the trauma drama, where you gave your power over to somebody else because you thought they had the answers. You thought they knew better than you. So Venus shows you where you stand in relationship, and because we don't operate in a vacuum, you're gonna be asked to look at places where you're tolerating things. What am I not willing to tolerate any longer? That was the big message last week. I am not willing to tolerate this. This is not right. Caging children is not right. Diminishing women is not right. Not hearing is not right. In other words, what choices can I make to create something outside of the box that's going to inspire and lead people to their own heart knowing? I guess that would be what I'd ask you to do during this Venus retrograde, is how am I being inspired? Look, if you're caught in the muddle and you're under a sheet or blanket right now, and you're trying to hide the energy of this, get and speak to somebody, reach out, ask for help, reach out, share your story. You're not meant to do this all by yourself. Who am I in relationship to you? That's some of the critical questions you want to ask over the next couple weeks. Where did I lose myself, and how can I come back to center? Now, one of the things around soul retrieval is, where have I lost power, and how is that affecting me today? If you want a good book, go read Sandra Ingerman's book, Soul Retrieval, Mending the Fragmented Self. When I found that book in 1995, I knew that it was going to be a life-changing event for me, and it certainly has. And I've been working with the principles of that and doing client work for the last 25 years on soul loss. We can recognize soul loss, but if we don't understand where we lost power and what we're tolerating and why we're tolerating it, because there's some part of us that doesn't believe or knows what we know. So we're tolerating something because we don't trust us. There's a whole lot of stuff tied into the Venus Libra energies in your chart around trusting you, knowing you know what you know, and allowing that knowing to come forward. And when you bump up against a big pocket of fear and resistance, what it's saying is, hey, we have some trust issues here, and there's something here that, can we make a new choice? What is the possibility I want to go with, and how do I make that happen? So who am I in relationship to you, and where did I lose myself, and how can I come back to center? And this Venus retrograde is going to activate and show you dysfunctional patterns that need to course correct and that can be brought to the light for healing. Venus retrograde is about bringing those dysfunctional patterns forward so you can unwind them, unravel them, and recreate something new. So when Venus is in your birth chart, is activated, she helps you to come back into balance. So in your body, like I said, Venus rules the fourth chakra, the cave of the heart, the place that mediates the alchemical marriage between the sun, the moon, Mercury speaking, and Venus, the heart center. And the shadow of Venus is, how have I filled up my life with things I have settled for? How have I filled up my life with things I have settled for? If you experience trauma, drama, you have to go back in and look at those places that you settled because you didn't believe in you. That's a powerful plan of action. Go back in, look at the times, look at the ways, look at what happened to you, and allow yourself to come to it with love and understanding and compassion so that deep grief translates and transmutes. Now, one of the things that happened to me last week when I was, on Tuesday, I was sitting there at breakfast, and this despair energy arrived, like it was seeping and oozing out of places I didn't even know were there. And it brought me to my knees. It brought me to tears. And I realized that I was acknowledging the despair that was within me of not getting heard and not being heard by people who love me. and also on a collective level of not being heard and not being acknowledged and validated. And so it was like a 2-day process of me going back in and looking at how I had settled with the energy of despair as the status quo for me, and how I value myself and what the gifts were of that despair, to not sit in it, but to understand that I could create from it. And thus this teaching, this course, not course, but this workshop that I'm talking about today came, because you have to do something with the energy. It's asking for expression, whatever expression it wants to be. So Venus's shadow is maybe revealed as a wanting energy. Venus, the shadow of Venus is envy and greed. I want what I want when I want it, and I'm taking it from you whether you like it or not. So some of the points around the shadow energy of Venus is wanting what everybody else wants. Not understanding what that energy of desire is for you, but looking outside of yourself and thinking that they have the answers. And focusing and what's that word? I'm just going to say spinning on things you can't have. Spinning on things that you can't have, and wanting what someone else has, that envy energy. She's teaching a class, she's doing this, and then cutting the person down. The haters are going to hate. Somebody wrote the other day. But if you have to keep talking about the haters in your life, there's a wanting energy of those haters to go away. And the thing of it is, you know what you know, and can you get to the point where that isn't even in the mix? Can you let it roll off you like it's not yours? It never was yours. The shadow energy of Venus may be wanting somebody or something all to yourself, like gathering it in. And Taurus represents, Venus rules Libra and Taurus. Taurus is about hoarding energy, filling up your life with things you've settled for. I have to have this in order to feel whole. Is that the truth? Have you ever asked? You may be holding on to grandma's china because you're hoarding something because you have a memory tied up in it. Is your grandma really in that china? No. There's something else around that china that is speaking to you, that wants you to understand there's a relationship there that's asking to go to the next place. And it's a messenger. Hoarding energy is a message. Doing anything in excess. Shadow energy of Venus is she laying on her back, living in all forms of abundance, eating bonbons and candy and just taking things to the extreme. Another way Venus's shadow may come up is focusing on a challenge and not being willing to, uncertainty, you're not willing to let it go because something has you tied to the wanting energy. Where am I tied to the wanting energy? And again, it's not knowing what you want and thinking somebody else has the answers. You've put your teacher, coach, mentor, parents on a pedestal. They're human. They're going to have their own foibles. They are not gods and goddesses. If you think you're better than or less than somebody else, I'm going to repeat this. If you think you're better than or less than someone else, then there's an inner child working you and wanting tending. We saw that last week. I went to all these schools. How dare you question me? When your inner child is activated, when that wounded little one wants tending, he thinks he's better than or less than somebody else. Patterns of overgiving is another shadow of Venus. Giving away what you have giving away what you have. Wanting everyone to have what you have. So it makes yourself okay. You have to follow me. You have to do what I'm doing in business. You have to do what I do because it makes me okay. That's not what this is about. And forcing everyone to want what you want. Forcing everyone to want what you want. Okay, no. What lights me up, what gives me joy is different for me and it's different for you. Always work. I say this, Christine put my quote up because I say it all the time. All, A-L-L, ways, W-A-Y-S, work. If you're in judgment of somebody else's way that they're doing things, that's probably a heart issue around Venus and shadows and wanting them to be like you. You know, okay, I own it. I see it. Now what do I do to create from this space? Venus rules our desire nature, erotica, and sensuality. She is the attracting principle. She is the law of attraction. Venus rules love, money, creativity, relationships, values, what you value and how you value you. She rules meditation and peace. And the thing of it is, and this is important, so pay attention. Venus takes 8 years to complete a cycle through your birth chart. She goes retrograde every about 2 years for 40 days and 40 nights. And the next Venus retrograde is happening October 5th through November 16th. And she is retrograding through the sign of Scorpio. And the last time she was in Scorpio was 2010. And it's about death and rebirth and resurrection. So in October 2010, what was happening for you then? And what have you learned the last 8 years? What have you learned the last 8 years around truth, valuing you, knowing what you know? For me, my mother died in 2010, September 2010. Within a month, I was in the money breakthrough method coaching process, which was really around clearing up my PTSD around money and value and worth. And I didn't know that was here until I started to put the paperwork together for this. And I just started chuckling to myself because I had this huge soul retrieval this summer around the energy of a past life between my mother and I. And it has made a world of difference. And I just kind of laughed last week when I started to see this October 2010 date because, hello, you know, I couldn't have told you in 2011 that this is where I'd be. So what is Venus's quest in your birth chart? Where's Scorpio? Like I said, Scorpio is about death and rebirth, and there's 3 octaves of Scorpio. If you remember, I talked about this summer. I talked about it a number of times the past year, that there's 3 octaves to Scorpio. The first octave of Scorpio is around attack, anger, scorpionic. The stinger is there. I'm going to bite you because I'm so angry. I'm going to snap. I'm going to rage. I'm going to do whatever. And in order to take that and understand it, you have to go to the next level of Scorpio, which is the eagle perspective. And you have to be observer of you and that other person. What am I getting angry about? How is this triggering me? What fear is this that I think that I don't matter? And then when it's finally time to activate and transmute, it goes into the phoenix. It rises out of the ashes of what was there to tell a new story. And so these 3 octaves of Scorpio will be working and learning us over the next, until November 16th. And so you want to be aware of how that's working you and learning you. So, like I said, what is Venus's quest in your birth chart? We all have Scorpio, we all have Taurus, we all have Libra. You can tune in tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about the Libra energies around the new moon that's happening next week. So what needs to change in your life, in your surroundings, your attitude? Are there new ideas that want to drop in so you can co-create with this Venus energy in a wonderful way? What needs tending is the thing that I see is most up right now in the collective and within me and within you. Retrogrades are a time to review, renew, revise, revisit, remodel, regroup, redo. This one's around love, relationships, money, and beauty. And how am I standing up for beauty in my life? What feels beautiful? Where did I leave beauty sitting at the curb, waiting for me to come back? And what's happening with my money story? Financial matters are highlighted during a Venus retrograde. Why? Because Taurus represents your money story and Libra is about balance. When you have a healthy sense of self-worth, you value what you offer and you set a fair price and can communicate that from the heart. There's no drama in your money story. So during a Venus retrograde, it's a good time to check in with your relationship to money. And how am I meeting the day-to-day financial goals? You may want to reflect on your pricing. You may want to renew, restore, understand your money story, and understand what needs tending. So listen, where do you go from here with this? Tomorrow I'll be having the new moon teleclass. You can go to marketingforhealers.com/Vision Keeper and sign up for the journal prompt. I will have a journal prompt specifically for this Venus energy. And you also will be able to take the story deeper into your own knowing. You can also join me at the Forge. You can go to bit.ly/meet me at the Forge. That's a private group where I'm going to be posting we'll be communicating around these energies, Venus especially, over the next month about this Venus retrograde. And I thank you for showing up today and listening and just being with me while I share the story of Venus. Thank you and take care. Goodbye.